Planning on having some friends over for breakfast or brunch this weekend? Well, I've got a fabulous recipe that's perfect for this occasion. Let's make this beautiful bacon and egg breakfast focaccia on the One Pot Chef. To make our dough, I've got 2 cups of self-raising flour, which I've just sifted into a large bowl, and I'm just going to season that with a little bit of salt. And I'm going to add in half a cup of grated mozzarella cheese. You could also use cheddar cheese or any grated cheese you like. And just mix that together until combined. I've made a bit of a hole in the centre, and to that I'm going to add in 1 1/4 cups of natural unflavoured yogurt. You could also use Greek-style yogurt or even some sour cream. Now, this is what we're going to use in place of yeast, because yeast takes a long time. You've got to knead it, you've got to let it rise up, and the dough takes forever, but it's Sunday morning, who wants to do that for hours on end? So what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this together using a round bladed knife like this, just a butter knife will be fine, and just make cutting motions through the mixture until the dough comes together. Now, the reason we do a knife rather than a spoon is if you try to mix this with a spoon, it all ends up sticking to the spoon, and we want this dough to be nice and light and fluffy, otherwise you end up with a solid brick when you bake it. I've turned the dough out onto a floured surface, and I'm just going to add a little bit of extra flour on top here. Now, if the dough seems really sticky, don't panic. That's what all this extra flour is going to help us with, and we're just going to gently knead the dough, not just for a minute or so roughly, just until it stops being too sticky. And as you can see, that's already starting to come together nicely. And just using a lightly floured rolling pin, we're just going to gently roll the dough out until it is roughly a large rectangle that will fit into our pan. I'm using a large baking tin today. This is about 30 centimetres by about 22 centimetres, and all I've done is I've lightly greased it with some spray-on oil and lined it with some non-stick baking paper. And as you can see, I have put the dough in there, and all I need you to do is just, using your fingers, just press the dough in so it reaches all of the corners and it's all roughly even in height. To begin our toppings, I'm going to put some sauce on. In this case, I'm using some sun-dried tomato pesto sauce. Now, all you need to do is just spread it over the surface so it's covered. And of course, you can use anything you like with this. I'm using the pesto today because it's got a nice, sharp, cheesy flavour. But of course, you could use barbecue sauce. You could use some tomato pasta sauce. You could pretty much use anything you like, whatever you happen to have on hand. Scatter over some diced bacon. You could also use some ham, some cooked chicken, some mushrooms, whatever you happen to have on hand. I've got a large dessert spoon here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press some large indents onto the surface. This is where our eggs are going to sit. So we're going to do 6 because I'm putting 6 eggs in. Carefully crack each egg one at a time into a coffee mug, and then use the coffee mug to gently pour each egg into each of the indents. I'm just scattering over some halved cherry tomatoes, which will add a bit of extra flavour, and scattering over just a little bit extra of that grated cheese. And this is ready to go into the oven. Preheated oven, 220 degrees Celsius, 430 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 15 minutes, or until the eggs are cooked and just set, and the focaccia mixture at the bottom is cooked and browned. Once out of the oven, we're going to leave this to sit just for 5 minutes in the tin before we transfer it onto a plate to serve. Now, the reason we've got the paper in here is A, so it doesn't stick to the tray, and B, so it's easy to lift. So that way you can take it out without any troubles. Now, if after, say, 15-20 minutes in the oven, the eggs aren't totally set, don't panic. Just turn the temperature down on the oven slightly and just leave the whole thing in the oven until the eggs are set to your liking. A golden fluffy focaccia bread base topped with cheese and tomato and eggs and bacon. This is absolutely gorgeous and perfect for Sunday brunch or breakfast. Yum, yum, yum! Alright, I've cut a slice off so I can have a taste. Look at that. Alright, no more stalling. Oh, that's still very hot. That's extraordinary. The base is soft and fluffy and infused with all that wonderful flavour from the sun-dried tomato pesto, so it's salty and tomatoey and cheesy. It's absolutely stunning. You got the beautiful baked eggs on top, the bacon, the tomatoes, and of course that mozzarella cheese in the bread and on top of the focaccia as well. Absolutely stunning, easy to throw together, no endless kneading or having to wait for dough to rise. This is perfect for a Sunday morning where you just don't want to spend too much time in the kitchen. Well, I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Check out my other videos at OnePotChefShow.com. And don't forget to check me out on social media on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And until next time, see you later. This is really fantastic, and frankly, you can change up the ingredients on it to suit your own personal taste. Change the sauce, change the cheese. Instead of using meat like bacon, you can use a mixture of vegetables. You could throw some baby spinach on top. You could do all sorts of different things. You could just change it up however you like.